Hey guys, Christina here, and today I wanted to sit down and just have a bit of a chat with you about kids and money and allowance. So if you're new here, like I said, I'm Christina. I'm a homeschooling mom to 5 children, and we live in the Canadian Maritimes. Right now my children are 7, 10, 13, 14, and 16. So we're going to pass those like young and baby and toddler years, and I have children who are getting ready to leave home soon, which is kind of crazy to think about. So I thought I would just share some information about how we try and teach our children money management and how we deal with the issue of allowance. Now, just how every family does things differently, it's going to be the same for this. Some people give their children allowance, some don't. Some have a different definition of what allowance is. So please just take what you will from this. Ignore what's not useful to you. I'm not saying this is the only way to do something, nor am I saying it's the best way, because that's going to be individual to you and to your family. So we do give our children allowance. We start when they're 5 years old. We felt like that was an age where they could be introduced to money. And while they may not understand all of it, it's getting into that routine and that pattern of getting the money every month, writing down, breaking it up into different categories, tracking where they're spending their money, and just starting those really good habits very young. So our children get $1 per year of age. So when they're 5, they get $5 a month. When they're 10, they get 10, and 11, 11, and so on. We do not tie it to chores. It's completely separate for us. The reason for this is that our philosophy in our family is that everyone has to join in to make our family and our home work and a success, and so it's just expected. Yes, our children have set chores. So-and-so does the dishwasher this day, another child sweeps the floor this day, but that's just part of being a family. That's just the expectation. We also have larger jobs that we do, like stacking wood, weeding the garden, shoveling snow from the driveway, that again we do not pay our children for, partially because we don't have a lot of extra money to give to our children, but also it's just part of being a family. Again, it's part of taking care of where we live, of being able to get out of our driveway or to heat our home or to eat vegetables. So it's completely separate from any chores or jobs. Likewise, we don't tie it to discipline. It is just completely separate from that. So it's never taken away from them. It's never reduced. They get their money every month, no matter what. So when they get their money, they divide it into 3 categories: tithing, saving, and spending. They do 10% for tithing, which they tithe to our church. And then when we first started, we did 20% into savings and 70% into spending. We found after a few years, though, that the younger children really didn't need that much spending money, and so it would be more beneficial to them to start saving at a young age. So now they put 40% into savings, and they get 50% to spend. So for example, my youngest child, he ends up with $3.50 a month for spending, which we feel like is enough to buy like a few little things he wants here and there, but it's also enough to start saving for something larger if he wants. The expectation of the money we give our children for their spending is it's completely their choice. However, if we're out somewhere or we go somewhere like on vacation and they want to buy something, that's what that spending money is for, and so it's their responsibility to use that money to purchase what they want. In terms of the savings, we actually have our children, like they have a savings account each under their own name. They go to the bank a couple times a year, have that experience of handing the money over to the teller, of getting an update on how much they have in their savings account. And then as our children get older, they will take over those accounts. Our oldest recently got a debit card, and he is working on setting up his accounts, learning how to do online banking and to manage that and to just take over that savings account as well as other banking. So everyone kind of talks about allowance and like how much do you give and when do you start, but one question I don't hear a lot talked about or asked is, when do you stop giving allowance? This recently came up for us because while my kids have done newspaper routes and babysitting, dog sitting, things like that, our oldest recently got a permanent part-time job. So for us, we decided to continue until they finish high school And at that point, allowance from us will stop. Now, when we first started doing allowance, originally we had planned that as our children got into their teen years, to kind of shift some of the money and the responsibility to them, so they would get more money every month, but they would be responsible for their personal hygiene items, clothing, shoes, some of their needs, so they could get that real world experience. And that hasn't happened. I'm hoping perhaps it will still happen in the near future. But the reality is that the economy is hard right now. Inflation's high, things are expensive, and we live on one income. Our budget is tight, and I just can't do that. Yes, I do make money on YouTube and Amazon, and I appreciate you guys watching this video because it does help our family out. But honestly, it's less than $50 a month from all my sources of income. So it's not enough to consider it more than one income that we live on. So at this point, it's cheaper for me to continue to buy personal hygiene items in bulk and to shop sales when I'm able to, as opposed to just giving a larger amount of money to our children and having them handle that. Like I said, I hope that will change, but the reality is such that this is how it is right now. With allowance, one of the things we've tried to teach our children, like I mentioned, is to keep track of the ins and the outs of money. I feel like this is something even adults have trouble with. Sometimes money just feels like it disappears because we haven't been taught and we haven't learned how to track our money. So when we first started doing allowance, I tried to find some kind of like money book or money log for my children, and I couldn't find quite what I wanted. So we ended up using a notebook, and it was okay, but it wasn't the most ideal. So we recently kind of came up against this again, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to make my own. So I now have available, and it's in my Etsy store as well, some budgeting and goal tracking and money tracking for kids. It's a digital printable, so you get the digital download and then you can print what you want, pick and choose. It's in color as well as black and white, and you can choose how many you want to print. It should be coming out on Amazon shortly, which I'm really excited about, in a bound book form if you'd prefer to do it that way. I'll let you know when that comes out. You can follow me on Instagram. I'll share about that at that time. But whichever way you choose to keep track of the money, that's such an important part for kids. So having some form of money book where they're tracking in and out, and like for us, dividing up into those 3 sections is really valuable. So hopefully this has given you a bit of information and just some ideas on how allowance works for a family like ours. Like I said in the beginning, take what you want from it. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments section down below. And I will talk with you there. Otherwise, I hope this finds you having a great day. Take care.